This video is about 2 exercises, 2 movements for bulletproof hips for Olympic weightlifting and CrossFit. And if you're not doing Olympic weightlifting or CrossFit, it's going to get your hips bulletproof for squatting. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Fritz from My Performance Coaching, strength performance coach from Berlin, Germany. And in this video, we're going to talk about 2 movements that are all you need to have bulletproof hips, strong, safe, pain-free hips to support all the load, all the squatting, all the deadlifting, all the pulling you need for the sports of CrossFit, Olympic weightlifting, or to grow those legs really big when you're a bodybuilding, training for more muscles or being more jacked, or I don't know why you're doing that, but yeah, you can do it as well for that reason. So we're just starting in. Movement number 1 is kind of a hip hinge pulling pattern, and it's a single leg toe touch, or if you load it later, it's a single leg deadlift. So all we're going to do is going on one leg, and the exercise is to get down to the bottom by having it on one leg, doing single leg toe touches. And we have 2 hands, so we always have left hand, left outside of the foot is easy, center is more difficult, and yeah, you know, the inner side is even more difficult. And on the right side, it's the same. Right side of the foot, pretty easy, center more difficult, left side, pretty more difficult on the outside. And what we're going with that is having our hip joint, the hip joint in full flexion by having to support the full flexion by the extender muscles and having the hip muscles, all the muscles around the hip joint, keeping that balanced, strong situation, that balanced, strong position in your hip. And you can not really see that now inside of my shoe, but the feet is working all the time, and that is because the muscles have to balance their position at the whole time. And by doing that, you're integrating your hamstring strengths and the strengths of your groins and all those muscles that usually produce force in the heavy movements, by having them interacting in a balancing position and to keep that balance. And you can just play around in this position a little bit by going into easy position, going to a hard position, going up again, going down again, doing some rotational piece, playing-ish thing, until you're really confident in doing those things. You can also just release your feet of those shoes, doing it barefoot. Usually barefoot it gets a little bit more easier because your feet have direct contact to the ground and you're not having those layer of the shoe that your feet has to balance as well. So by being barefoot, it's a little bit better. And from here, when you're good in that movement, and you can do it like this, and you can do a little bit more rotation in your hip as well. In this situation, you can just take a weight, a dumbbell or a kettlebell, and I'm just going to take the first one available. And from here, you can load this movement. And again, having left hand, left side of the foot is easier. But right now, you're not only doing mobility, you're also loading the mobility exercise to make your mobility training progressive. And that's the best and only way to really improve your mobility long term. To at first increase awareness and range of motion of a joint to make it function in its full physiological way. And when you reach that point where movement quality gets really up, but you're thinking about getting stronger for a sport that is about supporting and moving weight, large loads quickly, you also want to load your mobility exercises. And you can do so with the first movement here, the single leg kettlebell or dumbbell deadlift, or just toe touch without weight, by taking a kettlebell and doing loaded single leg deadlifts. You can change the side to make it a little bit more difficult, or you can even say you're doing it really difficult by progressing by taking the right diagonal to make it even more challenging for your hip. And the most important thing about this exercise and what to keep in mind is to always think progressive. If you're getting better into the easy way, just doing it at one situation, one position, progress, get better, get in more variations. Maybe start doing things like bringing the kettlebell down, leaving it on the ground, keeping it up with another hand, doing it like this, keeping it up here, putting it somewhere else. Always incorporate coordination, muscle, time under tension, strength, and increase the increasing of range of motion into your mobility training to improve the strength of your joint position and the structural awareness to being able to use your muscles in its full potential by increasing load, range of motion, and muscle awareness or awareness of the positions of your joints. And by improving that, especially in the hip hinge with a single leg movement, you're definitely moving your awareness and your hip health much further to a bulletproof situation where your hip is able to support all you need. That's exercise number 1. Now we're going to exercise number 2. And exercise number 2, because this was about the hip extension, the hip hinge, exercise number 2 is about the hip flexion and much more about the inner hip rotation. And what we're going to do now is a Cossack squat. And the Cossack squat, as you may know in German, it's by the way called Kosakenkniebeuge. Maybe you heard of it before, guess you don't. You're going down right here, and in that position we have 2 amazing things happening. Number 1, I will just change the position a little bit and keeping the dog away. We're going in that position, and on the one side here we have that awesome eccentric training on our groin and hamstrings to open up that inner rotational pulling from the hamstrings and the groin. And on the other side we have really to push into external rotation to keep the hip open. And by having full time under tension on all the quads, the groins, and especially even here in the ankle mobility, we're doing 2 amazing things at the same time. And that is why the Cossack squat is one of the best mobility movement, the best warm-up movements you will ever see for whatever sport you want to do. So it's basically one of the best movements to wake up in the morning with, to prepare for your game in handball, soccer, American football, rugby or whatever. And it's one of the best warm-up movements before squats, because you're going to load your ankle flexion, you're going to eccentric open your groin, your hamstrings, you're going to load your quads and going in a full knee flexion by having that only on one side. And even here, if you get better, just start loading the position with more load and progress here as well. And you can do like those sliding, playing around things, and you can just even stay here in the middle to have even more time and attention in the internal rotation. So you can keep those feet on the ground, or you can just rotate them externally to have more range of motion. But the Cossack squat is definitely movement number 2 for bulletproof hips, for squatting, deadlifting, clean and jerk, snatches, Olympic weightlifting, all you need, and especially all the movement variation you have in CrossFit. You should prepare your hips and keep them strong, keep them bulletproof. And that was 2 movements for you to do, and you won't ever need more movements to do to improve your hip mobility, hip strength, keeping those hips healthy, keeping those hips bulletproof. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, smash that like button, that helps a lot. And if you don't want to miss any video, subscribe to the channel and hit that little notification bell down there. Fritz from My Performance Coaching. Fritz, by the way, is probably the most German name ever.
Hans.
Yeah, it's as close to Hans, but Fritz is crazy. Yeah, maybe you know Friedrich. Yeah, that's the same thing. But if you like that, please give it a thumbs up. And I hope you will have a great next training session. Seeing you here to another video to improve your performance. And yeah, that's where I leave it. Fritz Reincke, strength performance coach from Berlin, Germany.